Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Today we're going to talk about procrastination in our series on faulty core beliefs. Now, porn addicts and people who procrastinate have something in common. Both porn addicts and people who procrastinate are prioritizing short-term emotional regulation benefits, and procrastination comes from fear of failure and low self-esteem. Very common traits and emotions experienced by people who struggle with pornography. Over time, it actually becomes your identity, just as with most faulty core beliefs. And there are a few problems with procrastination, and I'm going to list them out in increasing intensity. The first being that procrastination just keeps that list of things that you need to do. It keeps it alive. Nothing is ever completed, and things keep getting added to it. So you get to a point where so many of the things that you've been procrastinating on become prerequisites for something else in your life. That means there are many things you can't do till you've done the things you've procrastinated on, which is a horrible place to be because you still don't want to do those things that you're procrastinating on. But here is what happens over time. And I know this because I've been coaching men for about 13 years right now. And I have watched men over a decade procrastinate. Men get to the point where big things in their life cannot happen until a series of things that they've been procrastinating on happen. For instance, when I quit pornography, then I am going to get married, or then I will get into a relationship. The reality is that it takes 1.5 to 2 years to rewire your brain from your addiction to pornography. So if you are a man who says, well, I'm going to just figure this out on my own, you can do it on your own. It's going to take you about 4 to 6 years to do it on your own. And this is what we have seen. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's going to take a longer amount of time. But what are the prerequisites that you have put in front of yourself? I won't get married till I quit pornography. I won't start doing XYZ till I quit pornography. For some of you, it is many other things. I won't start my own business till I have gotten an MBA. And you just procrastinate going to school. And every single step that comes with going to school to get a master's degree. I won't go out and I won't get married, or I won't propose to my partner until I end my behavior with pornography. I won't stop working out till it's the beginning of the year. I won't travel until I've saved up XYZ amount of money, even though you have the money to do so. And on and on. We forget that tomorrow, as cliche as it sounds, is not guaranteed. We, over the years, do not realize how much procrastination is robbing us of. So the question I want you to ask yourself is, where specifically are you procrastinating? Are you procrastinating with your work projects, with simple chores, with developing positive habits like going to the gym? And then I also want you to ask yourself, what has this cost me? Has it cost me more stress and anxiety from trying to meet deadlines? Have I gotten late fees for procrastinating on returning things on time? Have I lost money by ordering things that came in that were the wrong size or the wrong thing? And I was like, oh no, I need to return this thing. And then you procrastinated. Now it's past the return date. Has this affected your relationships where you've pissed off people because you told them you were going to get back to them on something and you never do? Has it pissed off your clients or customers because your delivery dates are always late? What is the impact on your health because you decided to procrastinate on going to bed? Like, you're like, I should be going to bed, but I don't want to go to bed because I'm procrastinating. That's the question I actually want you to take a moment to pause and ask yourself. Next is, let's talk a little bit about procrastination and laziness. Because, brother, you may be one of those guys who thinks he's lazy. Like I used to think I was lazy, but the truth was that I was not lazy. I just didn't know the difference between procrastination and laziness. Procrastination means that you choose to do something else instead because you are too busy avoiding discomfort. Laziness, on the other hand, is a passive activity of doing nothing. So with laziness, nothing is being done. With procrastination, you are choosing to do something else. It means that you are an active individual. And understanding this difference will let you know that you might actually be a very disciplined, functional individual who is capable of great success. But you have brainwashed yourself into thinking that you are lazy, when the truth is, you just put your energy and your activity into the wrong things because you do not want to experience discomfort. You know, probably the most debilitating part of procrastination that I don't think enough people speak about is the impact on your mental health. Because not only has this affected my mental health, JK, my personal mental health, but I've seen it affect the mental health of so many of my clients. When you put off things that you know that you should be doing, it just increases your feelings of anxiety and low self-esteem. And there are so many people who live in a constant state of anxiety because your open loops are so many and you do not want to ask for help. So you just feel like crap all the time. In fact, you will go and see a psychiatrist who will tell you that you have some sort of anxiety disorder, when in reality, you were just chronically procrastinating. And then this anxiety and low self-esteem, that means a poor reputation with yourself, fuels procrastination, which then leads to self-doubt and fear of failure. So it becomes this vicious cycle in your life. That is one of the reasons why you are stuck. So to live a better life, you're going to have to change your self-image. You're going to have to do so by addressing your core beliefs, the assumptions that come from those core beliefs, and then you're going to have to focus on your thinking patterns, which come from those assumptions, which will finally change your behavior. Now, if you're just like, oh my God, JK, how do you do that? Well, an easy way to do it is to become a part of the Porn Reboot system. There's a link in the description below this podcast episode where you can click on it and you can get on a call with one of our Reboot strategists who are also coaches and find out how the program can be customized to fulfill your needs. This is a complimentary call and there is no charge and no pressure either. So how do you deal with procrastination if you're trying to do this on your own? Well, the first thing is that you have to acknowledge that you are procrastinating. I do want to emphasize that you are not a procrastinator. Do not identify as like, oh, you know, I'm a person who procrastinates. No, just acknowledge that you procrastinate sometimes. Ask yourself why you are avoiding that thing. That's it. Just ask yourself why. Honestly, it could be because you are afraid of failing in it. It could be because you feel that there's no point in doing it because no one's going to watch it. No one's going to give you feedback. You don't even believe it's going to work. But please, I want you to acknowledge and ask yourself why. Third is focus on the benefit instead of the task and how you would feel when you are done with it. So what is the benefit that you're going to get instead of focusing on the task? So start thinking, like, let's say, I remember, like now I'm at almost 700 podcast episodes. But let me tell you, in the early days of this, I just thought there was no point in doing this. For years, I avoided recording my first podcast because I just felt that there were so many podcasts out there and no one would listen to me. I felt that there was no point in putting in what I felt was a lot of effort into recording something when there was so many people that were better than me. So there were two things that I focused on. I focused on the benefits and I also focused on the process. Now, this is a little bit of a contradiction to what I said on focusing on the benefit instead of the task. I would adjust that to mean focus on the benefit first and then the task. So that means before you start a task, sit down, especially when you've been procrastinating in my case, and I ask myself, well, JK, what is the benefit of recording a podcast? And the benefit was very simple. Number one, I would get to reach more people potentially. But number two, I would improve my ability to communicate. These were two benefits. And so I then focused on the process and made the process the goal. And the mantra that I have for you, which is very powerful, is the mantra of the process is the goal. So you start off by acknowledging what the goal is. So you're like, you know what? The goal is to reach more people. And number two is the goal is to improve my communication ability. And the process of recording is the actual goal. Because when I am recording and I am doing it, I am simultaneously improving my communication skills and I'm also reaching people. It doesn't take much. It doesn't like from recording this to you listening to it can take less than 24 hours. Therefore, the process is the goal. Remind yourself, the process is the goal. The process is the goal. The process is the goal. If you were to start a business, for example, and you found yourself procrastinating on all the different steps that it takes to start a business, then you want to ask yourself, well, what is the benefit of starting a business? Well, the benefit could be that you are putting out a product in the world that is going to help so many people. Another benefit could be that it gives you freedom from your 9 to 5 or whatever. But in the process of actually creating that product, you are already helping people because you have to research, you may have to communicate with the general public and ask them what it is that they want. In fact, in one of my consulting programs, 6-figure side hustle for 20s mentor, one of the ways that I teach men how to research their niche is to actually call specific people and ask them specific questions about the problems that they're having in their business. And these are very, very specific problems. And there's a very specific way of asking. And as a result, the business owner shares some very deep and vulnerable things with you about their business. Now, you're still in the process of building a business. You go back and you solve that person's problem. You find a way to solve it. Then you reach out to that same person again and you let them know, hey, I'm the guy who called you and asked you those questions. I really appreciate how deep you went into them. Well, here's something that I have for you. And you actually share it with them. And because of the system by which you ask them those questions and the depth to which you got them to reveal their problem, many of them are willing to take a chance on you because you took everything they gave you and you found the solution that they could not find out there. The process is the goal. You now have a client, you now have a customer by virtue of the process. Now, obviously, this is not how the way it works all the time. I'm just giving you examples where you can connect the goal to the process. But even if you didn't want to do that, the mantra for the person who procrastinates a lot of the process is the goal is very powerful. At the end of the day, we are not really sitting around in freedom and, like, oh, my goal is to be financially free. My goal is to have kids. My goal is to be married. My goal is to XYZ. When you're dying, touch wood, and that doesn't happen to you anytime soon, you're not dying going like, oh my God, I had kids and I'm happy I had kids. There is a process. If you were spending quality time with your kids, if you were providing for your kids' future, if you were having a wonderful conversation with your wife, if you were spending quality time with her, if you were working on a mission that mattered, that process of building those things, that is the thing that actually counts. On our deathbed, we are not actually thinking about the goal because most of our goals are simply ideals. They are things that we are constantly working towards. And it is those moments, like now, the moment of me sitting here and creating it, this is the moment that matters. This is the core of everything that's come next. It is the goal. I hope I've explained that well, or well enough. Finally, break it down. So let's go back to those few things to do to get out of procrastination. Acknowledge that you procrastinate. Okay, I'm procrastinating. Ask yourself why you're avoiding something. Focus on the goal or the benefit of that thing, how you're going to feel when you're done with it. Remember that the process is the goal. and then break it down. You know that question of, well, how do you eat an elephant? Well, the answer is, well, you eat it one bite at a time. So go for the easy wins. An adequate job in an inadequate amount of time. An adequate job in an inadequate amount of time is how you accomplish things. It is okay to look at a task which you assume would take 3 hours. If you look at the 3 hours, you're going to procrastinate and you're going to stall. But if you start by putting on a timer for 15 to 20 minutes and only working at that time, you are going to get a lot more done over a course of a week, as opposed to procrastinating on that thing for 2 months. And then the fifth thing to do is to set concrete deadlines, okay? Each of those small tasks need to have a concrete deadline. So you could say, by the end of today, I'm going to spend 20 minutes learning this language or whatever else it might be. And finally, reward yourself. You know, one thing that I don't see enough people doing is rewarding themselves. Sometimes people are afraid to reward themselves because they also have a faulty core belief that if they reward themselves, they're somehow going to not do the thing that is necessary. But I assure you, once you've gone through all of these steps and you've done it a few times, rewarding yourself will actually become something you start looking forward to. And that, gentlemen, is procrastination, especially for men who struggle with pornography, and what you can do about it.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out of control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is, if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.